welcome to Elephant and Roses. My name is KT. Today we're going to make banana bread. Really simple recipe, no frills, bells, whistles, etc. You're going to need 3 ripe bananas. So that's when your bananas are yellow, but they've got the black specks starting all over them. And what I do is when the bananas start to go, I put them in a zippy bag. I put 3 in per bag. And it's dripping, so don't mind the noise. I put 3 per quart bag, and then I just push all the air out, seal them, put them in the freezer. That's what this is here, by the way, if you're wondering. It's a chest freezer. I live in a 700 square foot apartment, but I have a chest freezer because I'm very Midwestern, and I grew up on a farm. So, so I put the bananas, 3 of them, to a zippy bag, put them in the freezer. Why 3? Because that's what I need for a banana bread recipe, and out of this, I will get 2 loaves of banana bread. So we will go to the overhead shot, and I will walk you through the process. So today for this recipe, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of butter, which is 4 tablespoons, so half a stick, a 1/4 cup of shortening, a half to a cup of sugar. If your family likes things really sweet, go with the cup. If they don't like things very sweet, go with the half a cup. If you want more banana flavor, go with the half a cup. You'll get much more banana flavor with a half a cup of sugar. You need your 3 bananas, and again, they need to be the yellow ones with the speckles on them, and you can use them fresh or frozen, doesn't matter, both work. 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Remember, there's a difference between soda and baking powder. Baking soda is what we're using for this. 2 cups of flour, and then an optional half a cup of nuts. And then you're also going to need 2 of your bread pans. I use shortening for banana bread because I like it to pop out easier. Sometimes with butter, it likes to stick with banana bread. I think it's because there's a lot of sugar in the bananas. So I just use a little bit of shortening, and I grease 2 of them. So those are your ingredients. So we're going to move a few things around, and we will get started on making this. I hope you're having a good week. Hopefully you've been having good weather and not any bad weather. I know that there's a lot of flooding in the US, so hopefully the weather calms down here shortly. So I'm going to drop in the shortening in the big bowl. And again, I'm getting used to this, so bear with me. And then I'm going to unwrap this butter and put that in as well. And then again, I always save this because you can see it's shiny. That's going to go in my fridge so I can butter something later. It's a good tip to save. The bananas, freezing them, I really highly recommend doing that because then you don't, especially if you're busy and you're working like me, it makes life a lot easier. And you know that the bananas are in the freezer. They're not going to get any worse. They're just going to sit there and chill out and wait for you. So it makes it so you don't always in a rush. And you're just going to cream the shortening in the butter until they're very well mixed. Then you're going to pour in your sugar. Again, this is a half cup to a cup, depending on the sweetness level you like or your family likes. The great part about this recipe is the bread is freezable, so if you think 2 loaves is too much, just freeze one. A great tip I can give you for any bread recipe if you make it, after it comes out, slice it up, put parchment paper on a cookie sheet, line up the 8 slices, which is what you get per loaf, on the cookie sheet, pop it in the freezer, let them freeze hard, then peel them off of the parchment paper. They come off real easy. And then you stack them back up like a loaf and slide them in your Ziploc bag, and then you pop them in the freezer. And then you can just pull it 1 slice at a time. So if you're a single person, great way to save money on your budget, and it's easy for you because then you can just slide one out, put it in a Ziploc bag, and take it to work for a coffee break. So great way to save money when you're working. Next, we're going to put in our eggs. I've explained before, I always crack mine in a separate bowl. Same with putting all the ingredients in separate bowls. That helps so that when you're making a recipe, you're not going, wait, did I put this in? Wait, do I have this? You don't have any of that problem because everything's taken care of. Takes all the anxiety out. I crack eggs in a separate bowl, because I grew up on a farm. So sometimes you'll get a bad egg. Sometimes you get eggshell in your egg. And you don't want that to show up in your bread. So easy, fast tip to keep your bread looking great and not have the oops eggshell got in, or you got a bad egg and all of a sudden you just wasted a bunch of ingredients. So you want to just mix this really well. Is there a banana recipe you like more than another one? Would you like me to do more banana recipes? I have lots of banana recipes. I've been baking and cooking since I was a small child. So, and then I also have all the ladies in my family's recipes. I've got notebooks, I got recipe boxes, I've got cookbooks. You'd be amazed how many things I've got, thanks to them. So I came from a long line of bakers and cooks, and they're pretty amazing people. So I always wipe the spoon off just to make sure I get that butter and sugar off, so I can make sure it's all incorporated really, really well. I do half shortening, half butter, because I like the quality of the bread better. It's not as dense, and it's still buttery, it's still very moist, so that's why I do mine this way. I know a lot of people only use one type of fat, and to each their own, but I really prefer doing it like that. So now I'm going to mix in, wait a minute, almost missed a step. Now I'm going to mix in my bananas. Almost forgot the bananas in this one. That would not have been a good bread. And then you just open the zippy bag, drop them in, and it's ready to go. I have, mine are still just a little bit frozen, so, which is okay. Bananas defrost really fast. I pulled mine out of the freezer and then measured all the ingredients for this recipe, so they're pretty much defrosted. There's a couple spots, especially in the very center, that are still a little frozen, but that's okay. I'm just going to smush it down in and mix it in really well. You can make this in the mixer if you'd like. If you don't have a mixer, just mix it by hand. It's fast and easy. If you're using fresh bananas, the step goes a little bit faster than if you're using frozen bananas, unless your frozen bananas are completely defrosted. Mine still have some lumps, but I'm getting them worked out as I push them down into. This fork comes usually with like silverware sets for dishing different things like meats and stuff off of platters. And I tend to use a lot of strange utensils, but these strange utensils usually you can find at thrift stores really cheap, because people donate them because they don't know what to do with them. Because we don't have, our culture's changed a lot now. People don't have the fancy dinner parties like they used to. If you look like the 50s and 60s, even into the 70s, people used to have really huge dinner parties and friends over and, you know, multi-course meals, and now that's just not culturally the norm anymore. Okay, so I'm going to slide that there. I'm going to dump my baking soda directly with my flour, and I'm just going to give it a good little swirl. Yeah, I'm just using the back end of my spatula. I am not a professional baker. I am not a professional chef. I am a home baker and chef. So I do everything with the tools I have. I really encourage newbie bakers to don't go out and buy things. Just use what you have until you're used to doing it, and then it'll, you know, then you'll know what you need and what you don't need. You'd be amazed how fast you'll find some tools that you think, oh my gosh, I really need that tool, and then you start getting better and better at baking, and you're all of a sudden going, wait, I don't need that tool. I can just do it by hand, or I can use this instead. I'm moving to a spatula because it's getting a little bit thicker, so I want to make sure it gets good and even. Yeah. Did all of you grow up, the professional, well, home cooks and bakers that are watching this, did you grow up in a family where you learned to do this when you were little, or did you pick it up later in life? If you're a newbie baker, what encouraged you to start baking at this stage in your journey of life? Okay, so that's all there is to it. I do the nuts a little bit different. Nuts are absolutely positively optional, and you can put them in or leave them out, your call. I'm measuring by spoonfuls, by the way, if you can't tell. I put even numbers of spoonfuls so I don't end up with one loaf bigger than the other. I know it's an interesting way to do it, watching me drop it, but if you go over like I just did, don't worry, just wipe it off so that you don't end up with burn happening on the outside of your pan. I figured out this trick a long time ago, that it helps me if I just do it by the spoonful and drop them in. Again, sorry, I'm still learning how to keep everything in shot. Usually this works really good because my loaves end up almost the same. If you are wanting them exactly the same, that's a little bit more of a challenge. Because you need a scale. You're going to have to weigh your pans empty, then you're going to have to weigh your empty bowl, then weigh the batter, then divide it out by 2, and then evenly distribute it by weight to each of your pans. And that doesn't always work. Something always goes wrong in my case. I don't have that great of luck with weighing out everything, so there's some of my recipes that in the future I may show that do require weighing, and those are pretty easy for me because I've made them so long. But again, I'm trying to scrape the bowl because that was the way I was raised, is you scrape every ounce of the bowl out. A lot of the older generation are like that, and I was taught by the older ones. So now what you're going to do is you're going to just shake it. You want it to get down into all the cracks and the crevices, just like that. And you can also tap it if you need to as well. But hopefully I don't give somebody motion sickness watching me do this. But this is how I do it. So it's just like that. And they will poof up. If you want a really tall bread, you could obviously put them all in one, but I have found that if you do that, you're going to end up with really big dough clumps in the middle, and I do not want that. I do not mix my nuts into the middle. I put my nuts on top. I do that so that in case somebody I serve this to doesn't like nuts, they can just pick them off. I've been a mom, so sometimes you get children that don't like nuts. Some children love them, and it also makes it look really pretty. So then I just very gently push them down into the dough so the dough comes up around them, and I end up with a really pretty top. So this is all there is to making my banana bread recipe. And I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees, and I'm going to bake it for 35 to 45 minutes. If you have a hot oven, meaning everything you stick in there seems like it gets done super fast, check it at 35. If you have a cold oven, meaning it seems like it takes forever for anything to bake in it, you want to go 45 minutes. Remember, when you stick in your toothpick and you pull it out, you want some of the bread sticking to the toothpick. Don't overbake it. Overbaking it means you stick the toothpick in, you pull it out, and it's clean. You don't want that, because when it comes out, this bread is still 350 degrees, and that means it's still baking. So when you don't want it raw, you just want it so the bread is sticking. It's very sticky. When I showed my lemon loaf cake, I showed exactly how you want it to come out. You want it to stick to your fingers, and you want it to stick to the toothpick like that, or the fork tongs if you don't have toothpicks. And then while it cools, it's going to finish baking the rest of the way. And then when it's completely cool, if you stick a toothpick in, it's going to come out perfectly clean because it finished baking on its own without you. So I will come back as soon as these are out of the oven, and I've cleaned up all this mess, and I'll show you what it looks like, and I'll cut the bread, and you can see how easy it is to make this. So very simple recipe, fast, Really easy to whip together, especially if you're low on time. So I will be back shortly with the finished product. So the bread is completely baked. It's been in the oven, and you get this nice loaf. It's nice coloring all the way throughout. I'll put it like that so you can see the bottom. You get this beautiful color. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going to fall apart in your hands as you just saw me roll it. You will get a crack when you do that, which that's okay. I'm going to slide this one out of the way a little bit. One advantage to putting nuts on top is that if you serve this to somebody who doesn't like nuts, they can just cut the top of the bread off and eat the rest. So, but some people like that extra little crunch. It's a nice little added touch. So I'm going to cut into 8 slices. I cut the middle in half, cut this half in half, and then cut that one in half and that one in half, and repeat the process on the other half. And then you get 8 equal slices, well, pretty close to equal sizes, and without bringing out a tape measure. And there we go. And I'll take one out of the middle so you can see what it looks like. So you can tell it's nice and soft, not too squishy. It's moist, and it bounces right back. So it's completely baked. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's fun to teach you how to make all the different things. If you're enjoying this content, please definitely leave me a like and a subscribe and a comment down below. I'd love to hear if you're trying these recipes, so definitely give me some feedback if you do try them. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.